everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like Therian and furry content, as well as arts and crafts, you are in the right place. Make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content, and let's get on with the video. It has been a little over, well, actually I think it's been closer to 2 months at this point since I've made my last long-form YouTube video. And that's mostly because I have been so horribly sick. As I have mentioned before in previous videos, I suffer from a chronic illness. I just don't know which one yet. We are in the process of getting it diagnosed, but until I'm tested for a bunch of things in April, I really don't know what's going on with me. But that is besides the point, because today's video is all about why you probably should not start that mask business you've been thinking about starting. Now, this video isn't to discourage... Actually, you know what? It is to discourage people from starting a mask business because it is actually a lot more complicated and difficult and really a bad idea. So, let's get into it. So first, what do I mean by a mask business? Actually, for the sake of this video, I am referring to two separate things. One being a Therian style mask business, and two being a fursuit style business. Both of these I think count as mask businesses, so I'm going to be calling them both mask businesses for the sake of convenience in this video. So a mask business is basically where you sell your masks, which is to say either a Therian style mask or a fursuit. And both of these can be really good hobbies and activities and ways to make money, but not for everybody. First, I'm going to go over the specifics of why you should not start a Therian mask business, and then I'm going to go over the reasons why you should probably not start a fursuit making business. Now, this isn't necessarily to like gatekeep fursuit making businesses or Therian mask businesses. Actually, I'd like there to be more. The problem is there's a lot of realities to running these businesses that people don't tend to think about before they start them, and then once they start them, kind of get into some hot water. So these are a bunch of things that you should consider and think about before you start a Therian mask business or a fursuit making business. So first of all, when it comes to selling your masks, you have to understand that this is now a business. And there is a huge difference between running a business and dealing with customer service than there is with just making masks for fun. Now, the biggest thing that I tend to tell everybody who's considering making a mask business is you really shouldn't unless you absolutely know how to file your taxes, okay? This is exceptionally important. Now, if you are running a business on Etsy, or actually if you are selling masks in general, and you are in the United States, this only applies to the United States because that is the only country that I understand. Well, I do not understand tax law in the United States. I don't even pretend to. But basically, taxes in the United States work differently than everywhere else in the world because the United States loves doing that. And it's actually really difficult to file your taxes if you have an Etsy business, and you do not want the IRS to come for you later if you file them wrong. This is the biggest thing I tell people when they're running a mask business, is that the taxes is complicated and difficult and real. See, on Etsy, it used to be that if you sell less than $10,000 worth of merchandise in a calendar year, then you don't get a tax form. You have to kind of figure that out on your own. They've changed it so that the minimum is now $5,000, but if you make less than $5,000, you are not going to get a form. So you're not actually going to know the exact numbers of what you're supposed to be paying. Because the thing is with Etsy, it doesn't take out all the taxes. It just gives you the money. So it takes out some of the fees and some of the sales tax paid by the buyer, but not necessarily the tax that you have to pay. So this tends to bite you in the butt when it comes to tax season, and you end up owing money rather than getting any back or getting nothing. So it is very important to set aside money for taxes and not to spend everything you earn from Etsy, because some of it you actually do owe. Now, if you are using a site other than Etsy, keep in mind you still have to count that on your taxes, okay? Any transaction that you have, if it's a business transaction, you still owe the sales tax on. So basically, if you're doing it through like Mercari or something, you still have to report that income. You know what I mean? Now, you might not think this will affect you at first if you're not reporting this income, but if the IRS were to, what's it called? When they look into it, you know what I mean? When they file what's the word? Audit. If they were to file an audit and look into, I don't know if it's file an audit or start an audit, but if they were to look into it and found that you had income from places that you didn't report, that counts as tax fraud. That counts as tax fraud. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm not going to argue about the importance of taxes or whatever. I'm just trying to get you guys to stay out of prison. But make sure you are reporting this income. If it is an actual product that you are selling and it is a business transaction, you do have to report that as income on your taxes. Now, you might be thinking, well, I am under the age of 18. If you are a minor and you're thinking about starting a mask business, that doesn't affect me. Yes, it does. Now, in order to start an Etsy business, you have to have either your social security number or some kind of your tax identification number, right? So basically, you have to have your legal identity attached to your Etsy account. Now, if you're under the age of 18, you actually cannot start an Etsy business. You technically can if you have a co-owner like with your parents, but I would really advise against doing that. See, another thing is your parents probably don't know how taxes work with Etsy, and you do not want them to face the kind of tax issues that will come about from an Etsy business if you do not report that on your income. Especially if this account is more so tied to the minor involved and the minor is running it, that can lead you into a lot more trouble if something were to happen, such as somebody sues you or obviously the IRS does an audit. And this tax situation also applies to fursuits. If you are selling fursuits, now this doesn't even matter where you're selling it, Etsy, Dealer's Den, wherever you're selling it, you still have to report this. Now, I just want to stress the importance of paying taxes because it can happen and they can send you to prison. They can. That happens. It's really sad, but if you don't pay your taxes, that's where you're going to go. And everybody thinks, oh, it can't happen to me. Yes, it can. So, for example, if you are selling a suit on the Dealer's Den and it sells for a couple $1,000s, if you are not reporting that income properly on your taxes, bad news. Bad news. Now, the tax thing is kind of the most important thing I want to get home, because if you do not pay your taxes right, you will either owe a significant amount of money or maybe even go to prison. I'm just trying to get that out there because this is a real thing that can happen to people. You can potentially go to prison for these kind of things. So it is something to genuinely keep in mind. And it is not me trying to scare you. I'm just like, hey guys, it can happen to you. Be careful. Now, number 2, another reason why not to start a theory and mask business specifically is the market. Now, there is an interesting thing going on in the theory and mask market right now, and that is that a lot of people are selling their masks for the absolute highest price they possibly can. Which I get that. I completely understand trying to make the most money you possibly can off your mask, but are they worth it? See, depending on the materials your masks are made out of, they may not be worth the high price tag. A lot of theory and masks sell for $100+. But are they selling or are they listed for that price? See, my masks tend to sell, but that's because I have an established foothold in this industry. I've been making masks for 2 years, and I've been selling them for just as long. But also, my masks haven't always cost the same amount. When I first started selling masks, they were a lower quality, so I charged less. I charged $50 for my first mask that I ever sold. Now, my custom masks are $250 USD, and my pre-made masks are $175 USD. But I didn't always start with those prices. I worked my way up. See, I think prices should reflect the quality as well as the time spent. Now, I think a lot of people tend to overprice their time spent versus the quality of the mask. The most important thing, price-wise, is the quality of the product, not necessarily the time spent. Now, that isn't to say that your time spent isn't worth it. I'm just saying that you have to calculate in the quality as well. See, I see a lot of masks listed on Etsy for $100 to $150, sometimes more. And these are masks that I'm talking a cat mask base, felted, painted, probably not even a backing. And that could be worth that much, but people really aren't actually paying that much for them. A lot of the masks that are up on Etsy currently have been there for months or even longer. They really aren't selling for those prices. And if you are seeing ones that are sold for those prices, chances are they already have an established foothold through social media, such as how I have a foothold through social media, and I post my masks all the time. So I get a lot of advertising, which gets a lot of traffic to my page, which gets me more sales. So one thing I would recommend if you were trying to start a mask business is first building your social media platform. That is number 1. The only way to get sales guaranteed is to advertise. That is what everybody does all the time. If you get the price and product in your head, then you can sell the product easier. So basically, if you post on social media, like look at my mask, and just try to rank up those views and continue to consistently make content, chances are you will consistently attract more customers. And as you attract more customers and your product improves, you can actually charge more. Now, this is a point that I want to bring home specifically, and that is starting a mask business turns your hobby into work and that can be catastrophic. See, it might be fun making masks now, but if you have to make masks and there's a deadline and there's specific details you have to include and it's not really the mask that you really want to make, but you still have to make it, is that still going to be fun for you? See, burnout is real, especially when you're making a business into, a hobby into a business. When you're turning your mask making skills into an actual, like, I'm going to sell a product and I'm going to talk to customers and I'm going to make this a whole thing, it can get really, really stressful really, really quickly, and burnout does loom. It is important to know how many commissions to take before you take them, and how many masks you can make without feeling exhausted from making masks. See, currently my main source of income is from my commissions, and I haven't been able to work on commissions in a while, well, besides the ones I currently have, because I've been so sick. So I've been chipping away at the ones I have, but they are all at this point late, and that eats away at me. When I tell you that the fact that I have overdue commissions is literally rotting my soul away, I am not joking. If you are someone like me and you cannot handle the stress of being behind or that work is late, do not start a mask business because it can get stressful and that level of pressure is not for the faint of heart. Not to mention other commitments such as school or work outside of mask making. You have to understand that mask making as a business is still a priority and you have to do it just as much as you do school or work. And another thing is keeping up with shipping orders. You have to be able to have transportation to the post office. You have to be able to pay for shipping labels. You have to be able to pay for packaging. You have to make sure that the masks arrive on time, and you have to make sure they go to the right addresses. These are a lot of things that you have to manage and take care of when you are running a business. And another thing is customer service. There will be customers who hate your work. There will be commissioners who hate what you're doing. There will be customers that complain and hate everything you're doing and are a mess. And you have to deal with them, and you have to keep a professional face, and you have to keep a strong business mind and not take it personally, and that can be incredibly difficult. See, when someone doesn't like your work, especially if it's something you poured your heart and soul into, like a mask, it can be soul-crushing. It can be so bad when someone doesn't like what you've made for them, especially if it's a custom piece, and then it can also come into having to redo a piece. It's a really complicated thing when you come to customer service and commissions. And now I'm going to move on to specifically fursuit-related stuff. Now, a lot of these things that I've talked about leading up to now can be kind of for both the mask making and the fursuit making, but these are specific to the fursuit making industry right now and why you probably should not start a fursuit business. So first of all, there is an actual problem in the fursuit making community right now, and that is the oversaturation of the market. Everyone is able to make a fursuit. Fursuits also are expensive to make in the first place. You have to pay for a ton of upholstery foam, you have to pay for a ton of faux fur, which is expensive. A lot of faux fur is like $23 a yard plus shipping, which is usually like $15 at least, and it's a mess. So first of all, supplies are expensive and the market is really saturated. There's tons of suits available that are about the same quality. So where can you really fit in? If you want to enter the fursuit making market these days, you really have to be unique. You have to be something that stands out and is perfectly beautiful. Because fursuit making standards a couple years ago are not the same as they are now. Now, does that mean that they should be? Not necessarily, but an online fursuit nowadays would not nearly sell for as much as it used to. So basically, one thing is, a lot of fursuits have all the bells and whistles. They have the removable eyes, and the removable tongues, and the magnets, and the light up eyes, and things like that. And you can get those pretty easily. So if they're able to get that from somewhere else for cheaper, why would they buy from you? There are just so many fursuits on the market that have amazing quality, and from smaller makers, they charge less, so they can kind of get more of that market. If you're just starting out, it's really not a good idea, especially when it comes to the fact that you'd have to probably take commissions. Pre-made fursuits don't really sell as well as they used to, especially if it's from a maker that's not well known. So chances are you pour your heart and soul into this pre-made, invest a couple $100s, and then it doesn't sell. And you have this fursuit that, whoops, is a failure. And that can be devastating. That can be heartbreaking and financially burdensome. Not to mention that a lot of lower quality suits are being sold for way more. So your price range is also really complicated. Do you price where your work and time spent as well as quality, but know that nobody is going to pay that expensive price? Or price lower and not be able to get as much of your profit back? And again, not to mention, I am going to mention this one more time, especially if you're selling fursuits through a site like the Dealer's Den, they don't do any tax stuff for you. You use PayPal or a site like that, and that you also have to do yourself. You have to report it. I just want to get this message home. Pay your taxes. You don't want to be a small business owner and have to deal with the small business owner taxes, because every small business owner tends to mess this up at least once, and it can be really, really bad. So bringing that point home one more time. But making masks and making fursuits can be incredibly fun and incredibly rewarding, and it can be even better if you can make some money off of it. But I would recommend waiting a little while before starting your business, or at least building your social media brand first, because if you establish a brand, you will get more sales. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and hopefully you got a lot of tips and information out of it. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. I post every single day, all sorts of things, furry and Therian related, as well as arts and crafts. So if you would like to stick around, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.